Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, our most returning guest. He has returned more than any other person has returned, which means he should probably question everything about his life.
When I come on, it's like Easter. When I come on, I'm just back, always back. Every April, I'm just back.
You're the Easter bunny. What do you got in your basket?
Oh, some phone numbers of other coaches and
David Futernick. Man,
Johnny Bryant's contract.
Johnny, you think they keep the interim tag on him for a while, or you think they just take it right off and go full bore?
Nah. He's been there long enough. He's no Herb Williams.
No,
he's been there. He's been there long enough. He's earned it.
How long did the good times last?
It feels like a month now. Like last season feels so long ago and feels like it almost didn't even happen.
Well, I mean, last season was whatever it was, 6-7 months long. And then, we went into this season feeling pretty good, right? I remember our Kemba Walker episode that we did. A lot of good thoughts on there.
It was a nice story. It was a nice story.
It was a nice story. It was a story we were trying to talk into existence.
Yes.
So what the season started in October, end of October, and now we're in late November. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 months. It took all of 4 months for what seemed like a legitimate organizational turnaround, in my eyes, at least.
Yeah.
To completely get tossed aside, burnt, lit up in smoke. I don't know, whatever phrase you want to use.
Yep. Yeah. I wasn't 100% into the Tibbs hiring in the first place, but there's no denying that the formula seemed to work. We had obviously people had their gripes with his rotations last year, playing Julius too much, playing RJ too much. And man, now it just seems like, you could talk yourself into it because of the success last year. And you felt like, he pushed, he squeezed so much juice out of that lineup that we got the 4th seed last year. And so you kind of felt in your gut, maybe we were silly to, worry about that. We flipped to this season. Look at RJ, playing a guy in a blowout with a minute left, and look what happened,
Yeah. And that's not great. And this whole week hasn't been great.
And the sputtering out, these 20 something point leads that get squandered. It doesn't take a brain surgeon at this point to figure out that in the fourth quarter, the starters are fucking gassed because they've played too many minutes.
I mean, this is what Tibbs is. He's a guy that has always been stubborn to a fault, to his own detriment. And, it's kind of his way or the highway. And that has served him well, I think, at times. What I'm trying to wrap my head around here with this situation that has gone so far afoul of where we were not long ago, and specifically with the news today, the couple of leaks that William Wesley has gotten James Dolan's ear about, is Tibbs at fault? We see where this is going. There's no question about which way this is going. We know where it's headed. It's just a matter of time, until it gets there. Why did it work so well last year, and why hasn't it worked this year? And I think there are a few things you could probably point to, and there's obviously people have brought up certain players haven't played as well, and there's been injuries and this, that, and the other thing. Last season, that was a Tibbs team. That was exactly the team Thibodeau wanted in every sense, I think. It was a group of guys that he didn't have to worry about egos. He didn't have to worry about hurt feelings. He didn't have to worry about any of that. Julius going into a contract year, all this stuff. And then this season, a little bit of a different story. And like, I don't know, I am almost done writing my Friday newsletter to kind of try to put all of this in perspective with Tibbs and what's going to come at some point. And I don't know. I don't know exactly where to point it back to, but I'm starting to feel like the moment that they decided to sign Kemba Walker was that was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think he ever wanted Kemba Walker. And I think the moment that they were like, here, we're going to try this out. You're going to try to fit this small point guard who doesn't really defend well and is going to require your horse, your dude, Julius Randle, to have to adjust his game. I think that was the beginning of the end. And I don't know if that's going too far, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
It's the Kemba thing is so bizarre to me because I find myself just kind of watching him on offensive sets and he's just not really doing anything. It's not even that like, it's not like Alfred last year where it's like, oh, he's driving to the basket and he can't finish and he falls on the baseline and can't get back on defense.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a body that's just like there.
He's just there,
and you're just making it so much easier on defenses. And harder, yeah. and that much harder on Julius.
It's not helping anyone, which is why like the one question that I can't answer for myself is why Kemba is still in there and why he continues to get minutes and play
after
games.
the trade deadline.
Still, there's a part of me honestly that was shocked that he re-entered the lineup when I thought like after he went down with that knee injury, that was it. We were never gonna see Kemba Walker again.
Yeah.
Especially after they started playing well and they had won, 5 of 6 games. And I know they lost that Hornets game before Kemba came back, which wasn't a great game. But I was just like, that's the thing that's confused me. And I wonder if it has to do with things that we are just not privy to. The fact that like, I don't know, does he not want to sit on the bench? Does he just want to play? Is it because he has so much respect within the locker room? Is it because Thibodeau has so little trust in Emmanuel Quickley or Deuce McBride or, any of these other people, I guess, to run the show? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I am convinced at this point that he never wanted Kemba here. And the fact that Kemba was brought here and Thibodeau was told like, look, this is the way we're going. Try to make it work. I don't know. I think that was the beginning of the end. And then because I could kind of point to like everything devolving from there, like the benching, obviously, which rubbed players the wrong way, apparently. And like Julius, with the lack of accountability and like that compared to Kemba Walker being sent to the bench. Like these are all the sorts of problems that he did not have to deal with last year at all. And he has not done well with it. I'll say that. He has not done well with it.
No. And I'm so tired of him at press conferences going back to his bullshit mantra about how the guys who are in the minutes, they play.
Yeah.
Those guys play. That's bullshit. Yeah. It's bullshit.
He believes it.
Look, I guess you could talk yourself into anything, but at this point, he has to know his job has been on the line on that West Coast road trip. I mean,
oh yeah.
And
I think that's maybe why he started playing Cam, by the way.
But even so, it's like he's kind of playing Cam.
Hey, the fact that he is playing him in non-garbage time minutes, he's playing him.
Well, Grimes was out and then RJ was out. So it's made that avenue a little easier for him to go down.
That's true. That's very true.
But man, I know that the G League is obviously not the NBA, but how many phenomenal performances does Deuce McBride have to put in Westchester for Tibbs to just give him some burn?
Well, I don't think he's going to have to put in any more because I think as soon as we get back from the All-Star break, regardless of who's the coach, I think we're going to see a very different Knicks rotation.
Yeah. We would hope, but didn't we feel like that would happen after the trade deadline?
Yes and no. There was a part of me that thought it might stay the same until this point, until the All-Star break. And
like, is this like out of respect for Kemba? You know, not to just like pull the rug out from under him, but kind of like let him sort of ease back to benching.
I mean, Kemba hasn't finished either of the last 2 games. No. Maybe even more than that. I know it's at least he hasn't finished the last 2 games. So again, the writing is on the wall once more, just like it was earlier in the season. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for it. I think some of it does have to do with his lack of trust in Quickly, who is the only other option other than Burks to run point, other than McBride. And I think, you could say lack of trust in Quickly, lack of trust in McBride, 6 of one, half dozen the other. I mean, he doesn't trust young players to run a team.
Yeah. Lack of trust in the guy that was on fire last night and, just like pulled the plug on him.
Yeah, absolutely. It made no sense.
And then he brings him back into the game when it's too late. Like between that and thinking that he still had a second challenge miraculously the game was before.
Bizarre.
Like, dude, I'm sorry. I've stuck up for Tibbs, not as much as you, John.
I don't think anyone stuck up for him as much as me.
No, but I stuck up for him a fair amount. It's the situation is gotten to a point where like there's no sticking up for him anymore. There's just
I think again we're gonna look back at this season and think of all the different things that have gone wrong, and a lot has gone wrong, and a lot of players have played very poorly. He has not done a good job. He's not done a good job managing personalities, and he has not done a good job of, I think, pushing the right buttons. I mean, I think the fact that their record is whatever it is, 25-34, when they really have not played that, like the toughest part of their schedule is still ahead of them. So the fact that they're 25-34 right now, as we're recording this, is indicative of a team that is really has not played well at all. So no, he has not done a good job. I kind of go back to the fact that like you knew what you were getting when you hired Tom Thibodeau. And like, for me, at least, nothing that we've seen this season from him has diverted one bit from the guy that he's always been and from the guy that he was last year. He's a guy that is going to rely on the guys that he could trust, the guys that can do, and I'm not even going to say older players. He relies on certain types of guys that he knows or he thinks he knows are not going to take anything off the table in certain areas and are not going to have breakdowns in certain areas, which is why you're going to see Quentin Grimes, like, what did he get for 30 some odd minutes last night? Like, that's not surprising to me at all. Just like RJ Barrett he was a second-year player last year, right? And he was 3rd in the league in minutes.
Yeah.
So like he'll trust young players, but it's his types of young players. And when it's a type of player that is not his type of young players, but again, who is that on? I mean, obviously that's Tibbs is being inflexible there, but what did the organization like? Again, these are the people that purportedly knew him best. You know what I mean?
Right.
So where is the surprise? I guess is where I'm at this point.
My concern now, and obviously part of this is our PTSD from the last 20 plus years, but I'm just getting a little worried that James Dolan feels like it's time to put his finger back on the scale, because this is that shit last night was embarrassing.
I think we're past that.
I mean, he hasn't been, I know he embraced Julius, there was all that reporting and leaving after Cam Thomas hit the dagger last night. So we have those reports, but like, he hasn't really been talking, I'm just worried that like, we're going to have another like Michael K show appearance, like, that sort of deal.
I mean, I don't even really care about that, to be honest with you. If he wants to go
I care about that.
So what I care,
because we want to harness this culture, and I know that it's impossible at this point to really lean on what happened last year, but there's a way to pivot and to get it back to some semblance of like respectability going into next year. But if Dolan starts, putting his beak into the water again, I think that gets a lot harder because it's so easy. It's so easy to make him, the boogeyman and point it, and for players to be like, oh man, I do think that players they feed into the media stuff just as much as we all do.
Well, Dolan coming out, Dolan with the stuff about Durant, with the Durant injury thing, right after that, that was a bad look. Dolan when he went on, where did he go? Michael K show. I don't even remember what he said on the Michael K show, but it wasn't great. But that, I don't know. I care a little bit less about that. To me, the thing with Dolan in the news now, with the World Wide West going to him and, whatever, chirping in his ear, that's about just simply, if you're going to fire a coach with a year of guaranteed money left on his contract, which Begley reported today, he had ownership. Yeah, if you need ownership's okay. So to me, that's laying the groundwork for firing Tibbs in the offseason. If I would imagine it'll be in the offseason, if not sooner. Mm-hmm. So that's not Dolan getting involved. The part where I'm a lot more worried, and where I think all of the culture stuff that built up last year is actually gone, is this sense that, once again, you look around at healthy organizations in the league and there's a hierarchy. There's a clear hierarchy, and I don't know what your bright shining example of this is it, nobody knows who Peter Holt is in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Is it that LeBron James and Dwayne Wade went to Pat Riley, whatever it was, 11 years ago, and said, we're done with this coach. You're going to fire him. And Pat Riley was like, fuck you. You're playing for him. Whatever example you want to hold up, there are clear and defined examples of where an organization sets things in such a way and then they go with it. And if there's an organizational decision about this isn't working, we need to move in a different direction, it happens in such a way. What has worried me about what has come out now is that is the latest sign that is not how things operate here, where you're getting the leaks and you're getting to this and you're getting to that and not on the same page and all that stuff. That's not how things are supposed to go. And I don't know what the genesis of that is. Maybe the day that Leon Rose decided that his approach as a president of basketball operations was going to be, I'm going to get all the voices in the room to help me make my decisions, including the head coach. Maybe the day he decided that was the beginning of the end, because once the head coach feels like he has power to make decisions, then when a decision doesn't go his way and he's forced to coach a guy that he didn't want to begin with, well, does that create a bit of a problem? And does that create tension with the front office that makes it tough to recover from if you start losing? Because it's one thing if you have and I've said this, something similar to this before. It's one thing if you have a disagreement and then the team is winning, because as you look back on it, you're like, okay, well, whatever, whether I was right, whether I was wrong, we're winning. So it's fine. When there's a disagreement and then losing comes from it, everybody digs in their heels in the sand and everybody's like, see, I was right. Or see, in this, and that is where I think things, and that's why I go back to the Kemba thing. If you're going to give Tibbs decision-making power to some extent, and he didn't want Kemba, and you look at everything that's followed and the hurt feelings from the benching, and it's to me, it all flows from there. And it's just not a healthy way to do things,
Yeah.
And I just don't know where that leaves us.
In a place that we're unfortunately very used to.
No, but that's so here's what I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about James Dolan coming into the war room or whatever on draft night and being get me, whatever player or him stepping in, to be I want you to hire this coach or anything like that. I don't think Dolan has any interest in that anymore. I don't think he cares. But just the notion that like players from outside organizations are once again now going to look at the Knicks and be like, is that a place I want to hitch my wagon? And then all of a sudden you turn around and guess who's going to have a lot of pressure on him the day he takes over is Johnny Bryant.
Yeah.
And maybe we're putting the cart before the horse, but I'm mentally already there.
Seems pretty inevitable at this point.
Come on. I know the vote, like, okay, what's the last time a story leaked about a head coach where it's like, ownership has some questions and it didn't end up in that coach losing his job in the near future? Like Frank Vogel has his job today. Is he going to have his job next season? No, of course not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should we be excited about anything for the rest of the season? I mean, watching the young players, I guess.
Yeah, well, they have to play. I mean, I trust you that you feel like there'll be some sort of sea change after the break.
Only because of what Tibbs said after the game, where he for the first time he acknowledged I'll pull up the quote, but it was basically we have young players here who are worthy of exploring further and So.
I think I don't know. Give Deuce a little bit of burn. Let's give Jericho Sims a little burn. Taj doesn't have to play 40 minutes a night. I got my Taj Knicks Film School sweatshirt on right now.
I had it on last night.
I fucking love Taj Gibson. I love him. It will always be one of my favorite Knicks of all time. He is the man. He shouldn't be playing. He should be playing when every single center is injured and he has to play. He doesn't have to play right now and certainly doesn't have to play those minutes. Let's see a little bit more of Obi and Julius together. It seems like the immediate future, the two of them are going to have to share their time on this team together. They might as well share the court. Why not? We've had such a small look. This season is over. It's fucking over.
Oh yeah, no. The season is over. Yes,
the season is over. Tinker. Give people burn.
Tanker or tinker?
I mean both. I haven't been living on Tankathon, the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's happening. I'm starting to look at the draft board stuff. I'm diving in a little bit. From what I understand, from what I could gather, there's 8 guys in this draft that I can. It's like a bicycle. It's like a bicycle. It's just it feels good to just be back. It's just. Just riding. It's I only ride a bicycle now when I'm on vacation, when I go see my wife's family in Florida. So it's like vacation. We're back, you're riding on the bicycle.
I actually rode a bicycle the other day. This week on Valentine's Day, I rode a bicycle.
Well, you live in Brooklyn now, so I think it's required by law.
It's the first I've been here since August. It's the first time I got on a city bike. Because I had 45 minutes.
A man of the people.
To get to Atlantic Terminal to pick up or the Apple store by Atlantic Terminal to pick up my wife's Valentine's Day present.
So it was out of necessity.
Yes, it was out of necessity that I rode the bicycle. Rode the bicycle there, picked up the gift, rode it back, gave it to my wife that night, and she said she didn't like it, and I have to return it.
See?
Yeah.
Look at what you did.
I know. Screwed up.
You stupid man.
I'm very stupid. Anyway,
it's just let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. What
do you want to see? So let's go through this. What are the things we actually want? So first things first, I think we want to see RJ Barrett back on the court. Is that fair to put number 1 on the list?
Absolutely. I'd like to see a run of games where he and Julius both play really well together.
It's funny that you bring up Julius. Julius is not going anywhere. Julius is going to continue to play in games until maybe the last 2 weeks of the season. If they're I think when they're mathematically eliminated, I think you're going to get the report that Julius Randle has been dealing with, insert your soft tissue injury here.
Yep.
All season long.
Mm-hmm. Obi will get some starts. Yeah.
No, but I think they're going to shut him down.
Yeah.
I think the day they are mathematically eliminated, they're going to shut Julius down, and you're going to hear a report about that he's been dealing with something all year.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
But until then, I think Julius, and then maybe again, let's say that there's 10 games left in the season, and they're six back or something. Could I see them giving Julius like a rest day or yes, I could see that as well.
Taj starts at the 4. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm still, I know Julius has been playing very well of late.
Hasn't led to wins.
You know what though? I'm not even going to put
but
that
it's not on him. It's not on him. It's on Tibbs. It's absolutely on Tibbs. The rotations, Tibbs just, I mean, I know it's recency bias, but like, he just does not know when to ride the hot hand. I feel like he did. There were games where first game that comes to mind is one of those Pacers wins last season, where he kept the bench in the whole fourth quarter and they won the game. It was a close game and they won that game. It was a great quickly game, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
He doesn't do that this season. And maybe Benji or Tom Piccolo could break down like that. I'm completely wrong about that. And it's my eye test, but it feels like he just doesn't know when to fucking do that anymore.
I don't think he feels like he has the horses. I think he hasn't trusted quickly. Completely. I 100% think he hasn't trusted quickly.
And we don't have to pretend that Quickly's been great.
Quickly's been bad.
He's been very bad shooting the ball. Shooting the ball.
Defense has fallen off a little bit too, but he's been bad shooting the ball. Yeah, I don't think he trusts Obi as far as he could throw him. And then no, that's your bench. I mean, he certainly doesn't.
Yeah, but he trusts fucking Alec Burks.
and he
ran and you know what?
Yeah.
When we don't have another asset going forward because we couldn't deal with him, that's on Tibbs too, man. He ran that motherfucker into the ground. He ran him into the ground.
I wonder what they could have gotten for him if he was still playing well. Maybe they could have gotten some of this.
No, look, we can say like, oh, Derrick Rose doesn't get hurt, yada yada yada. But like, if he doesn't start forcing Burks to play point guard, to start at point guard, I think there is a chance that a contender gives us like a late first. I don't think that's so crazy because. Man, he was a really, really good bench player.
Oh, he was I had it as of 15 or so games ago, 10, 15-ish games ago. I thought he was the best player on the team this season. For a minute, considering Rose has been injured for so long, I thought given the amount of minutes he played and given the multitude of roles he played, I thought Burks was the best player on the team. Yeah. Again, through the first 40 and change games this season. And you're right. Burks is tired and Burks has not been good for a while, but Burks is whatever he is, an 11-year veteran. Tibbs is going to trust him more than a second-year point guard who's not really a point guard to run his show. And that is, I think we could go round and round at all the other different things. To me, the point guard situation this year, again, from Kemba to Burks to Quickly to maybe did he overplay Rose, like all of that on down. Any and all criticism of Tibbs' rotations and decisions he's made about when to play guys, how long to play guys, this, that, the other thing. I think it all comes down to that. I think the you could go to the Julius accountability stuff, play Julius a few less minutes and play Obi a few more minutes. I think there's maybe some validity to that. No, I think there's some validity to that.
Yeah. I think there definitely is.
But it comes down to the point guard. And it comes down to the fact that he hasn't had one that he trusts. And the fact is that since Derrick Rose has gone down, there's not a great option on this team. Does it mean you go out there and run Burks repeatedly? Probably not. That probably has not been, that was probably not the right decision. And he'll pay for that with his job.
Yep.
So back to Randall.
We were supposed to be talking about what we're excited about the rest of the season.
I know. We got into this. No, because we were talking about Randall and like Randall's been better. We got into it about whether these losses were his fault. They're not his fault. I don't really care that they're not his fault. It's more to me like I'm still fundamentally perturbed by some of what we have seen from him this year and even in these recent games. Like you say what you want about it. Oh, maybe he's tired or this and that. Like Julius has not brought it this year in the way that he brought it last year. And I'm not even talking about the fact that he's missed shots. Like the shell of a player that he was for the first 50 some odd games of the season. I'm sure I'm quite certain that there's some stuff going on in his personal life that maybe it comes out, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But, even like everybody has personal, like you have personal shit. I have personal shit. Every person in the world has personal shit. Yeah. The people, the best of us. Well, I shouldn't say the best of us. I don't put myself in this. The best of those people out there at whatever.
Get the city bike. You get the city bike to make it to pick up the gift.
Exactly.
Come on.
You get the gift. Yeah. I got the wrong gift, but I got the gift.
Sure, but at least you tried.
I did try. You figure out a way to not let your personal stuff affect your professional life, right? And some people are better at that than others. And the fact that Julius, to me, has clearly showed himself this year to be someone that is not a strength of his. That worries me to the point that, like, yes, I guess want to see him continue to do well because it can only help the organization moving forward. But among my own personal offseason priorities, after getting a point guard who could run a basketball team somehow, I don't know where the hell we're getting that person from, but I would really love to see what the market is for Julius, especially, and I'll end with this, and I'm curious what your thought is. If the organization really is going to hit the reset button and let go of Tom and give the job to Johnny Bryant and make this team fully centered around younger players, and maybe you retain a Fournier and you retain like one or two other guys, but in roles that are not as prominent. If they're really going to do that, is there a deal out there where you can move Randall and bring back something that is maybe on a slightly different timeline, something that is of real value? And I think listen, guys, 25 points a game for 7 games in a row. Like, you're starting to see the guy again that people saw last season. Some team out there is going to be able to convince themselves, hey, if we put this guy next to our number one, we could be pretty good, And I think they'll find that deal. I just don't know for a fact, will they pull that trigger? Yeah. Do you want them to?
I think so. I think, like, we know what Julius is. I don't see a future where you can build around him. Not in this. I think the situation is just kind of, especially like what we saw the dark side of this season.
Oh yeah.
I'm really concerned. And if he can play his way back, continuing on this path that he's been on the last, couple of weeks to end the season, and there is that value. Oh man, take it. Because there's a lot of young talent on this team that I think we should focus on. And I'm not obviously alone. If you're on Knicks Twitter, the idea of building around RJ is much more appealing to me than building around Julius at this point. I know that RJ is not a number one on a contending team, but like
for the time being,
he is a kid, and with the right development, he could be very special.
Yeah, I agree.
And there is a lot of really good pieces falling into place, like Grimes. And I still believe in Quickly. I really believe in Quickly. I think the pieces are there. I don't see a future where Julius is going to suddenly find this chemistry with this group of players. And I think you have to choose one or the other. You clean shop and you build around Julius, which I think is a huge mistake. And I don't even know what that would even look like. You can obviously find people that would want our young talent. But I think at this point, it makes sense especially if his value has gotten back somewhat closer to like what it was last offseason. I think you pull that trigger,
Yeah.
And especially if Johnny Bryant is the guy who has that job in the offseason, or before the offseason.
Or by the time this podcast posts.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah, like focus on, an actual rebuild. We've been pitched a rebuild so many times and it's never happened.
Well, I think we've had about to do it, and then Julius, last year,
right, and then Julius played out of his mind. So I think take the opportunity that you could have had this past offseason and try to get something good for Julius and find a home, like you said, someone who's going to say this guy fits much better in our system than he does in New York. With where our team is at. There's a team. I mean, I don't know who that team is right now.
I was going to ask you, do you have a team in mind? Because I have a couple in mind.
I mean, well, I want to hear yours.
So I'll go back to the team that I think I wrote this a week or two ago, as the team that right when the Julius stuff first started, other than the Kings, who were always an obvious team to me, and then decided that they didn't want Julius Randle. They would rather have Domantas Sabonis, and who could blame them?
Yes.
The team that always stuck out to me was Portland. And it made perfect sense to me because, like, you got Dame there, who's an older star. Mm-hmm. And you could see that sort of partnership working, they, we'll see about but here's the other part about Dame. This is why this is so interesting. I said this, I think I said this on halftime. I said it. I say too much shit. I have too many different places that I speak into a microphone.
Yeah. I do not envy you the amount of content you are making right now.
Just keeping it all straight. That's all it is. Like
I was on the playback last night. You're hopping off to go on the halftime Zoom. Yeah. You're recording a podcast before that. It's like, man, John, respect.
It's a lot of things. At some point, I was like, if you're looking at the Portland situation, mm-hmm. and specifically at Dame Lillard, and whatever rumblings, while he was saying the quiet part out loud on the broadcast the other night, rumblings he may ask out or whatever. If Dame Lillard asks out, who's the team other than the Knicks potentially, right? Mm-hmm. To give them the Godfather package for him. Because I don't even think we have to go through the teams right now because Philly was always the obvious team.
Yes.
And mm-hmm. they're out of that market now. And you look at the other teams who maybe at once upon a time would have been rumored to be in on it, like
Indiana.
A Boston. Yeah, Indiana. They're going into a rebuild, like a Boston. Do you think Boston's given up Jaylen Brown at this point with what they have going on? You think mm-hmm. Toronto's going to disrupt? I think what they have is a really nice young core of everybody's 6'9" and the whole thing, mm-hmm. And then you could just keep on going down the list. Golden State, you think once upon a time it was hey, maybe he'd be a third guard there. That ship has sailed. And you go on and on and on. And there's just, it's the Lakers basically. And it's okay, great. What are the Lakers going to give to Portland to incentivize them to take Russell Westbrook? I mean, is the two are, I guess after the draft, you'd be able to do 2 future firsts, I guess. But there's not a whole lot of obvious destinations for Dame. So if the Knicks pull back and we're we're not going to, that's not the business we want to be in anymore. And by the way, I don't necessarily think Dame wants to come here after what's gone on this year. So maybe it's both parties are no, thank you.
Right.
If he decides to stay in Portland and was okay, I'm committed, we'll work out a contract extension that does not involve paying me $60 million when I'm 30 years old. Mm-hmm. Aren't they going to look at Julius Randle and maybe even his buddy Miles Turner in Indiana and make swing a few trades? I don't know.
That's interesting.
That's the team that I have my eye on. That's the one. And I think you could find some other teams. I think the salaries would make it tough because it would involve them giving up Kuzma and Caldwell Pope. And I think you could argue that Kuzma's turned himself into a nice little asset at this point. But Washington, if you're desperate Washington team trying to convince Bradley Beal to stay long term, okay, we got Porzingis for you, and you got Randall. That's another team. Dallas. But again, what does Dallas have? That that would get interesting. I don't know. I think there's a team that you could get some real value for him, at least in terms of picks, a young player. And then you go from there and you figure out what your draft pick is. And like, so that's why I push back a little bit on like being excited to see like Julius and RJ together. I'm more like,
that's fair.
I want to see quickly run point more than I want to see Deuce run point, actually, if I'm being honest. And I understand quickly has had a rough go of it. I want to see quickly run point with RJ. I want to see like, it's going to sound crazy because he's played like awfully. I want to see what Cam could do.
No, I do too. You traded for the guy, and he's shown some little taste of
little stuff.
You know, his shot selection is atrocious. You know, somebody
and
needs
his concentration on defense is not much better.
No, but he knows how to get in a passing lane. He's long as hell. He gets to the line.
Yep.
He does some really nice things. So yeah, no, give him some run. Like give these guys some run. You should see what you have in the tank. No pun intended. For next season. You know,
what is the starting lineup for this team on the last game of the regular season?
Oh my God.
And who's the coach?
You know, my gut is still feels like Tibbs will be the coach until the offseason. I think I know that there's the leaks today. I know that there's a reporting that only comes out when the writing's on the wall, but I also think that Leon Rose wants to try to keep things looking like they're in order and not just pull the plug before the season is over. Maybe that's, I mean, we could get a notification from Ian Begley, you know, while we're still talking here.
I agree with you. It'll be after the season, and I could see it going like an interesting way. Like Tom Thibodeau has agreed to transition to a role as an advisor. So it's like Tibbs doesn't get fired. He saves face. He gets to collect the third year of his contract. And it looks, you know, they put a smiley face on it.
Yeah. It's like what the Mets did.
With what?
Like with their manager is like, they're like, or no,
is that what they did?
Or was it Sandy Alderson? It was somebody who basically was getting fired, but they were being kept on to, you know, save face. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's maybe accurate.
So starting lineup. Who's the starting lineup?
Quickly a point.
Not Deuce.
No, I think quickly. Oh, I mean, look, obviously somebody can get hurt. Knock on wood, nobody's hurt. But no, I think quickly a point. I do think that there's no way Mitch will be playing the last game of the season.
Really?
Yeah, just because of health. I just think by that point, I think I could see Sims starting it. I could see a weird lineup. You think Mitch plays the last game of the season?
He's going into unrestricted free agency. He may want to continue to put on a bit of an audition.
Last game of the season, though.
I look, maybe not.
Maybe.
I don't. I mean, for all I know, they could be playing Luka Samanic as a starting small forward in the last game of the season. But like,
it's true.
No, I mean, okay, so that's fair. So maybe Mitch is. So maybe let me amend the question. Like,
yeah.
The last game before, it's like
before everybody's
So let's say Mitch
set
as a starting center.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go Obi at power forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
RJ to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do we get? What do you think is RJ Grimes, RJ Reddish, RJ Quickly?
Mm-hmm. Man, this is kind of tough now. Yeah, maybe Cam Reddish is in the starting lineup. Maybe that makes the most sense.
I think he would, if it's Tibbs coaching the team. I think he would go Grimes.
It would be Grimes. Yeah,
I think he would go Grimes. I think he would go Grimes, and I actually think he would. I think he would go. I think Deuce is going to start I don't know if it's going to be 6 games, 8 games, 10 games. I think Deuce is going to be the starter at point guard down the stretch of the season.
Honestly,
not quickly.
I hope so.
I hope so. I mean, I'd be fine with that too.
Because why not give the kid some experience? Why not? Yeah. It may be ugly, but like when all the COVID stuff was going on, the kid played really well.
Yeah, he did.
You know, I'm kind of I really thought that when he came back from COVID, that like there would be a spot for him again. And then, you know, Kemba had his job back again for some fucking reason. So,
do you think that who do you think will be the last veteran? Let's put Julius aside, who again, I think will play until they're mathematically eliminated. Mm-hmm. Who do you think will be the last veteran to continue to get regular minutes?
Taj. He's going to keep playing Taj. Taj could be done soon. You know, Tibbs might be giving Taj like his last, his last minutes, you know,
maybe.
Does he have one more year next year, Taj?
No, Taj.
No, it was 1 year. So
it's a team option. So
you could see Taj hanging it up. So it's possible that Tibbs is riding into the sunset with his boy.
Maybe it's possible. Who's more likely to work in the NBA next year, Taj Gibson or Tom Thibodeau?
Oh my God. I mean,
advisor role aside.
I would honestly, if Johnny Bryant if we're assuming that he's going to be the coach next season, wouldn't it be wonderful to have Taj on the coaching staff? Wouldn't it be? I think that would be awesome.
That'd be great. No, I'd kill for that. I would absolutely kill for that. I'd pay. Yes. I'd start a GoFundMe to make that happen.
There's a chance that he might want to take some time off and, not travel around the country for half the year, but
possible.
But maybe not. Maybe he doesn't give a shit. And he's like, no, I love basketball and I want to keep doing that. So
perhaps
I would love that.
I would love that too. And then you can keep wearing your Taj sweatshirt and I can keep wearing my Taj t-shirt. This was fun, Fuddy.
Yes. As fun as it could be.
No, I needed this. I needed to, this was, I think I'm going to mention this on the intro, but we're recording this Thursday night. I'm going to finish up my newsletter in a few minutes. And I think I'm going to I'll write something for Monday, which I'm probably going to try to bang out tomorrow on Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at least, I am not going to think about this team at all.
You have earned it.
Not one bit. Will I be thinking about this team?
Yeah, you say that now, bro. We'll see about that.
Me and Andrew joked about it earlier today when we were recording the Patreon pod, saying like, watch the news breaks when we're like both on a beach, Oh,
it's going to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, you've been really busy. Do you mind spending a minute just talking about like what you've been up to of late? Because I'm
absolutely sure. Well, first and foremost, most importantly, my wife and I have been working towards becoming foster parents over the last year, which if any of you listeners out there were foster kids yourself or are foster parents, you know how much work that is. And we finally have our first placement. He's a baby boy. He's a little over a year, and he has made this horrible Knicks run much less important to me, which is amazing. Kids will do that.
Kids will do that. So,
he's a blessing, and we'll see how long he's in our care for. But we're trying to give him all the love, and I'm trying not to play too many Knicks games for him because I don't. He's been through enough. We're trying to give him a good life. We're trying to give him a good life. So that's been incredible. He's amazing. And then, I have a new show that I know that I teased in previous podcasts, but it's finally out. It's called As We See It. It's on Amazon. It's gotten really good reviews. I'm really proud of it. I play an Arby's manager.
Awesome.
It's a really good show. You can watch with the family. It centers around three roommates who are on the autism spectrum. The three actors are actually autistic. And it's Jason Katims who did Friday Night Lights and Parenthood. So it walks the line of cheesy without like being cheesy, and it's funny and heartbreaking, and it's really good. Really good.
It's first on my list of things that I'm going to get to when I may be able to get to it this week. Actually, I don't know where I'm going, if they have Amazon Prime down there. If they do, it'll be this week. If not, it'll be in the off season, early in the off season. But I've been looking forward to that, especially after Alan Sepinwall gave you a very nice review.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Rolling Stone.
Whoever that guy is, he gave us a good review. So much appreciated. Much appreciated.
And you've been doing all kinds of, you're popping up left and right, man. You're killing it.
Yeah. The other stuff down the road that I can't talk about. So, trying to stay busy, but at the immediate moment, this child is taking up all my effort, all my time. And,
as it should.
And making me feel my age in a good way. I am absolutely exhausted at the end of every day because, he's on the go.
But that's good. It's good exhaustion.
Awesome. Yes.
As opposed to Alec Burks at the end of a basketball game, which is bad exhaustion.
Yeah. I'd rather this kid run me into the ground than Tibbs, for sure.
That's more than fair.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.